So many people, including myself, are going to tell you sparring rounds are for improving. Don't worry if you win or lose. And while that is true, we all want to win. When we're at the gym, we want to be the best. And if we're not the best, we should be studying our sparring partners, other people in the gym, and going, how can I beat them? Not because that aspect is important. We don't need to beat everybody in the gym, but it's great training for when we do take fights and we get to actually study our opponent the same way that we studied our sparring partners at the gym. Today I'm going to give you 5 ways that you can go about improving your skills after watching somebody do their sparring rounds. Before we get completely underway, I want to thank XMARTIAL for being a sponsor of this channel and of today's episode. There's a link down below where you can save 10% on rash guards and shorts. Fantastic apparel, just like what I'm wearing right now. And these gloves that I'm wearing from my last fight, which just happened on December 19th, they are up for grabs. You can win them. Also a link down below. Get yourself registered. These are going to be signed and shipped straight to you from me. Now we are talking about how to assess a sparring partner in the gym, maybe somebody who's been beating you, and you're going, oh, I really want to win a round against them. I want to do better than them. I want to land some shots, stop getting hit, and you're struggling on how to figure out what changes you need to make. So I'm going to share with you what I used to do. Plus, a lot of this incorporates into how I study my opponents now. It's not the exact same method, but it's relatively close. So the very first thing which you should be doing, as soon as you look over in the gym, you're like, oh, that's what that guy's doing. Or there's a new person who walks in, right? New person walks in the gym, you see them out of the corner of your eye, you're like, ooh, okay, this guy's gonna give me some problems. Very first thing, look at the fundamentals of their style. What do I mean by that? Are they a Muay Thai fighter who's taking their time, who's blasting in big round kicks? Are they karate and they're very in and out throwing single shots? Are they sort of more that kickboxing style where they're ripping in those combos, finishing with the low kicks? You have to look at these fundamentals and right away go, this is their fight style. This is what I'm going to be up against. And you right away need to ask yourself the very important question, am I better than them at what they're doing? So if you're up against a kickboxer who's going to fight that Dutch style and you look at them, you're like, you know what? I'm better than this dude. Then that's fine. You fight them in your normal way. But if they're better than you have to move on to the next steps. You can't just simply stop there. If you're simply better than somebody, you look over, you're like, nah, I'm better than him. You don't need to worry about step 2, 3, 4, 5. But most of you are looking to beat somebody or to do better against somebody who already has your number. So you need the following steps, but always start at step number 1. It is really the most important. You go, this is the way they fight. If I'm better than them, who cares? Step number 2 is assess their 2 biggest strengths. Now you could go beyond this, of course. You could go, oh, what are their 3 or 4 or 5 biggest strengths? But a lot of times when you're stepping against somebody, especially in sparring where you just see them and then you have to compete or you have to spar, going beyond 2, in my opinion, and trying to be wary of what they're good at, anything like 3, 4, 5 things that you have to remember, that is too much. So if they come out and they're doing great low kicks, you're like, oh, okay, I gotta be ready to haul them out and check all of those. And oh, maybe they have really good boxing combos. So you're going, okay, I can't let my hands drop. Never gonna let my hands drop because I know he's gonna be on me, he's gonna be landing. If you start trying to add in other things, you're gonna get overwhelmed. But if you can start neutralizing those 2 things, okay, my hands are really high and I'm light on my front foot, always ready to check, always ready to block, at least you've already started to diminish what they're best at. And that is a massive part of defeating anybody in a sparring or a fight. Determine what they're good at and don't allow it to work against you. Now the next thing which I would start studying right away are basic athletic fundamentals. Their speed, their cardio, their timing, things like this. And going, can I beat them in any of those aspects? Because if you see any aspects within there which you are superior, there is a recipe for victory to follow. If you go, okay, this guy's faster than me, but his timing is terrible. Well, you make it a timing-based fight. You try to remove speed from the equation. However, if it's somebody who's a veteran at your gym and their timing is insane, but you know you're younger and you have more speed and you have more cardio, then you're going, okay, I've got to figure out ways to fake, get this guy to try and time me, and then to attack as he drops. There's always a recipe to victory if you can go, oh, this is what the guy's good at, but guess what? Over here, I'm a little better. And you exploit the fundamentals. By no means is this easy. This is something which will take time, but that's why we start now in sparring. Instead of going, oh, it's my first fight and I have to study my opponent and it's overwhelming. No, you've done it so many times in the gym and you've learned how to watch people and 3 minutes later spar them and get the better of them just from having that glimpse at their style. And before we move on to our fourth step, I want to remind everybody that the defense course, which I put together at Strike Ready, has been a massive hit. People have been loving it. Just today, got messages saying, thank you so much for this course. It is helping me so much. We have $50 off at strikereadycombat.com/defense. Head over there and grab this course if you have not already. It'll help your defense. And remember, half of fighting, half is offense, half is defense. You want to have this locked in. Step number 4, we talked about, okay, we go, what are their strengths? What are 2 things they're great at? 2 weaknesses. Study for 2 weaknesses. And even if this person is the coach at your gym, and you're like, oh, they're so much better than me, but I just want to start landing shots on them. Look for fundamental errors. Everybody has them. And let me tell you, when I used to watch K1 Max back in the day, and I saw Buakaw, Masato, Albert Kraus, Andy Sauer, I looked at these guys and I went, whoo, everything they do is perfect. They make no mistakes. Then as I got better and better and got to the point where I started winning these big, massive world titles, I watched the same footage and I go, whoa, there are a lot of mistakes. The absolute best in the world are always making errors. Your coach is making errors. It's just a matter of you can figure out what they are. So for instance, if you're watching somebody and you see them parrying the jab, every time somebody throws the jab, they're like, parry, parry, you go, shoot. There's no opportunity there. Well, just because they're blocking it doesn't mean there's no opportunity. Look for small things, like maybe they block downwards a little bit, which means if you fake and throw a second one, you'll catch them. Or maybe they're overreaching a little bit, which means, again, if you fake and they go to block, there's an opportunity for a hook because they're gonna go too far down and it takes them a little too long to get back and cover up. Small things like that. You look for little mistakes that are subtle, but there are opportunities there. And while this is extra hard when you're looking at somebody who's been getting the better of you, you have to be able to do it. Because if you get into a fight and you only can see what people are good at, mentally, you're gonna get crushed. By the time you get in to spar them, you've put them up on this pedestal and you will not pull the trigger, or if you do pull the trigger, you do it in such a dangerous way, such just kind of like a Hail Mary move that you're gonna get countered. So you wanna be able to watch them and go, okay, yeah, they're up here, but guess what? There's a mistake. So they're not as good as I thought. Ooh, there's another mistake. Then it's just a matter of you can exploit it. But the mindset that they're not perfect comes first. The final thing which I do, whether it be fighting or in the past sparring, is I watch this person, I watch them, I do everything I just said, and then I spar them in my mind. Right away, whether I have 1 minute or whether we're talking about training camp where I have a couple months, I close my eyes and I imagine, okay, what are they gonna throw? What are they really good at? How am I gonna defend those? What are the vulnerabilities? How am I gonna exploit it? And I just start doing the match. Not with me knocking them out or landing everything perfect, but just like, okay, they've got a fast jab. How am I gonna deal with that? Well, instead of having my hands out here, leaving this hole, I'm gonna close my hands up the middle. And I just imagine myself kind of moving with those arms, blocking that shot. And I just go, okay, now when they start throwing, I have my hands there, I can sort of catch with my palm, and I'm gonna come with my counter low kick every time. And you start thinking about that. You play the match out in your head beforehand. And then when you get in there, it doesn't feel so foreign. It doesn't feel like, oh, this isn't something I can't do. You've already done it in your head. Again, whether it be months or 30 seconds to 60 seconds in between sparring rounds. These are things that you can do which will give you confidence and will allow you, when you actually start sparring, go, oh, I've done this before, even though it was only in your mind. If you take everything that I gave you today, it's the beginning recipe to how you study and defeat opponents. What we're talking about more today, again, is in sparring, where you have only, a short period of time to make adjustments, to make a critical dissection of who you're looking at and how to defeat them. Obviously, we would expand and elaborate in drill, so much more based off months of prep time. But this gives you an idea how to start it and how to start winning rounds against people you've been struggling with. If you guys enjoyed this, please give the video a like. As always, thank you for joining. I will see you back here soon for another episode. Don't forget to get registered to win these official karate combat gloves, which are going to be signed.